Blevins here with an overview of the deadlift speed day. I'm still making some adjustments to this program because this day ended up being a little more work than I would want it to be. Not quite as much recovery, especially for my lower back. However, I did start with incline press and had about a 30-pound PR. My old PR for sets of 6 last training cycle was 285, and I was able to do, I believe, 2 sets of 315. Actually 3 on this day. The rest were drop sets, either 295 or 275. And they moved pretty good, I would say. I did lower the bench a little bit to the 4th notch on this particular bench instead of 5, which is where I'd been doing some of my work before. I did that because I was having some low back pain because I arch with leg drive through these reps pretty good, and wanted to make sure that I'm not taxing my lower back too much with incline press. That said, on this day my lower back was pretty fried already going into it, so I was glad that I had scheduled this little deload day with deadlift. However, I knew I was going to focus on form, and I'll get into that here as soon as the incline press is done. I do feel my sumo form is better than it's ever been, and I'm starting to be able to recreate the same form over and over again. That takes patience when you're doing the setup, and that's something that I've been working on a lot lately, is getting into the groove and getting everything tight and set before I start the pull. It takes some patience, it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes even it'll feel like I'm not going to be able to break the floor very strong in the sumo, but once I do break the floor, the weight pretty much flies up. And that's the way that a sumo is supposed to look. I don't think sumos are supposed to be these crazy grinders at the top of the lift too much. Normally that means you're too far over the front of the bar and you're not locking things out properly. In any case, you'll see on this set I got a little tired in between the reps. I knew that after the 4th rep, I think it was, that I wasn't going to be able to finish the set without a break, so I just racked the weight for a second and then finished out my last 2. This was after a drop set, or that was a drop set rather, 295, but I needed to probably drop it just a little bit more. I left some of my setup in here. This is a 1 set of 12, so I used the straps on this one. I want you to focus on my lower back though. That is what I worked the most on this day, getting a slight arch in the lower back. And that first rep there, the weight felt pretty much weightless as I lifted it up. All of these, it's lightweight anyways, but these moved really well, and I was happy with how they went for the day, especially the first rep. It just kind of went up all on its own. It didn't even have to pull on the weight very hard. It broke the floor, and it moved up well. And I think that's what these sumo pulls are supposed to feel like when you set up properly. You'll see the same thing on this. I believe I have a freeze frame in here, and so you'll see I get tight. I'm externally rotating my legs. I'm getting my weight correct. I'm trying to round my upper back a little bit, pack my lats, and yet still keep my lower back slightly arched. It's fairly neutral, but it feels, the way I would describe the feel is a little bit of an arch in the lower back. And this allows me to get my chest through and lockout snaps up at the top. So this is 635 right here, and it's moving very fast. I was able to work up in time my best set of 5 on block pulls, which is 675. However, my best set of 4 is 725, and so I do have some work to do here. I need to get this 5 rep max up at some point, because probably should be doing closer to 705 or 695 for these block pulls for 5s. That said, my back is pretty fatigued from the work I'm doing. I'm in the middle of this volume block, and so I'm not supposed to set crazy PRs at this point. I'm really happy with how incline went on this day. Regardless, on all of these reps, I'm trying to spread the floor to break the floor, pushing the weight out on the outside of my feet, trying to keep the weight back on my heels, and really force the lockout quickly once the bar passes my knees, and get the hips and glutes involved in the movement. Also, I feel this day on deadlift was a little bit compromised due to the incline pressing, because my chest was so pumped from all the incline work, as well as my triceps. It was just a little difficult to get into the proper position with my upper body. However, getting that back position set really made these move well, and the speed on the lifts was really good. Pretty much if you set up properly, lockout just snaps almost. It's very easy, whereas a lot of people have issues, and I've had issues before with locking out deadlifts. I can get them up to my knees sometimes, but if I've compromised my position to get it there, then I'm not going to be able to lock it out. And so it's not worth it to break the floor if you have to compromise your position because you're taking away the entire lift from yourself. I think that's why a lot of good sumo pullers, they either crush the lifts or they end up not being able to break the floor with it at all. So it's something to work on, for me at least, but this sumo form is coming along pretty well, and I was pretty happy with it overall. But you'll notice how long I stay just holding the bar and pulling myself into the right position. Also, if I didn't have the bar to hold on to when I would set up, I would fall over backwards. I'm already putting a lot of pressure into the bar, and the bar has to be there or I can't get into the proper position because so much of my weight is back into my hips, really trying to sit back far and start that weight by spreading the floor. If you start up over the weight like you do in a conventional pull, it's just not going to be the right movement for a sumo pull. Again, it's also going to depend on your leverages. Femur length, torso length, arm length, all of these are going to change the way that your particular sumo looks, as well as your hip socket structure. If you're not able to externally rotate because your bones are literally running into each other, you may have to have a more narrow stance, which means you may have to squat down more, and which also might mean that sumo is not your optimal deadlift form. Again, a lot of that will be determined by leverages, but again, sometimes even when your leverages say one lift, you're going to be better at the other one, and there's no great explanation for that. The human body is more complex than we really know, and it's not as simple as taking a test or a measurement and then being able to figure out what you can do. Finished up actually I did 10 sets of 10 on barbell rows after this with 245, but finished up my main work that was pretty heavy with floor press. 3 sets of 6. My first set of 6 was with 405, and then I did drop sets with 385. Shoulders have been feeling a lot better. I like the shoulder rock. It is definitely helping my shoulders become more mobile. Helps me get under my squats at least an inch closer on my hands at the start of my squatting, and also my shoulders are feeling healthier and stronger, whereas they felt kind of off and beat up after this meet. I've really been able to set those in with the bands when I wrap them around the rack and then kind of twist my arm as my arm is extended. There's a video of that in one of the previous workout logs. And this day, floor press felt pretty strong. Best I've done with sets of 6 has been 435, so 405 is getting pretty close to that. I think I may camp out in this verse for a little while. I just want to read it here real quick. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things. They do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. So I do not run aimlessly. I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I myself should be disqualified. This verse is from Paul, and what he's talking about in context is his life of a selfless, loving, giving life for others. And he took that attitude of being selfless and caring for others to spread the good news of Jesus Christ and the gospel. He took that life on where he would do things for other people or not make use or demands on people that he could have legitimately done for their benefit. And what he was saying is, I'm trying my hardest. I'm doing everything that was within my ability to accomplish the goal that I had set, that's been set really for me. He felt that calling on his life was from God. And I think that's something that can be applied over to lifting well. Again, though, I don't want to go into a whole sermon, so I'll probably hit this verse a few times. But what I want to say is, running is one who's trying to win the race, or lifting is one who's trying to do the best that you can do is a good thing. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily focusing on other people and how you can beat them, but what it does focus on is doing everything you can to be the best that you can. And that's something important. Anyways, I hope you all are doing well out there. Blessings.